Sky is so high, if you don't know how to fly, Aimfill is here to make you fly. Sky is so high, if you don't know how to fly, Aimfill is here to make you fly. Here we go.
A flight dispatcher is a person who prepares a flight map for the captain to operate a particular aircraft with a particular registration to from one sector to another. So, for example, if you're taking a flight from Delhi to Bombay and you have to prepare a flight plan for that, so the flight dispatcher will be in charge of what aircraft to be used. For example, if you're taking an Air India and you're taking 320 aircraft, so we have a number of 320 aircraft. It has a number of registrations. So, which registrations will be available for a particular time to operate that sector of flight? That will be the decision taken by the flight dispatcher. So he will have to contact with multiple of people. That is from the maintenance side, from the engineering side. You have to contact the ATC. You have to contact the airlines that whether the sector is available. So is the aircraft operational? So there are lots of things that you have to cover when you're a flight dispatcher. So flight dispatcher main thing is you are the one who will decide whether you have to delay a flight or you have to connect a flight or you have to cancel it. So whatever comes, that's your responsibility. That is keeping the safety in mind. So whatever work you do in the aviation industry, you have to keep safety in your mind when you do anything for a particular aircraft. Maybe even designing a flight plan. If the weather is really bad, you need to change the flight plan. So that will be done in cooperation with the operational team that is going to operating the flight. All the details that is required for flight dispatcher is seen in civil aviation's requirement. That is section 7, series M part 2. So this is civil aviation requirement is a book released by the DGCA, in which all the technical points are included regarding how the flight dispatcher should be, what are his responsibilities, what are the portions he is going to complete when he's going to do a dispatcher course, and who's responsible for that, what are the things that he will consider while planning a flight plan. So there are lots of stages that is shown in the civil aviation's requirement, section 7. After this, you also have to have a clear idea of how many that a flight dispatcher. Flight dispatcher is a very responsible job that should be done on basis, say, you will have to handle everything that is related to that particular aircraft. So anything happens to that aircraft, the first question will be the person who's operating that flight. The second question comes to the person who planned that flight, and third will be the one who's in charge of that flight. So after the captain, it comes to the load controller who plans and releases the load sheet for the aircraft, and then it comes to the dispatcher. So if the first two is not responsible, definitely it's going to be the dispatcher who's responsible for the flight. So this is a very responsible job that should be carried out by with utmost safety and security in mind. So that is about the basics. First, we'll start with civil aviation requirement, the flight dispatcher. Flight dispatcher, you will normally have about 360 hours, that is almost 12 weeks class. In that, you will have a covering up of two phases. That is, the first one is all basics. That is, what and all types of flight dispatcher you are going to do. What is aviation industry? What are aircraft? What is a type rated program? What are flight plans? How are you planning the routing? How you are going to calculate the fuels for that? What is the reason for collecting this estimate zero fuel weight? What is estimate zero fuel weight? So these are the things that you're going to cover in phase one. And the phase two will be where you will have to, phase two will be where you will be manually planning those things. You will go for the aeronautical chart. You will how you will draw it, how you will make a route map for that, how you will calculate the wind flow, how you will calculate the aircraft weight, what are the NOTAMs issued. On basis of NOTAMs, how could you plan the route? So these things will be seen in the phase two. You guys have basic knowledge about what is an aircraft, what is an airport, all those things. You guys are aware of what is an airport, what is
So
yes.
I think I have to need some information.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Actually, I don't have a clear idea about aircraft and airport.
Aircraft and airport. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I just need to know whether I have to take it from the entire basic or not. So that's okay. I'll take a small session about what's an airport and what's an aircraft. And all. So, guys, how many of you had seen a live aircraft? Uh, Live aircraft, that means that you had personally seen it face to face. Been to an airport or traveled in an aircraft, that's all fine. Have all of you seen an aircraft?
Not yet face to face.
Not yet face to face. Okay. Before we go to the flight dispatching course, you need to know a couple of things. What is an aircraft, or what is an aircraft, or how many types of aircrafts are there? So we'll start off with two main people. That is, one is the Airbus family, and the other one is the Boeing family. I'll just show just a couple of photos so that you guys have a clear idea of what you're going to see. One is the Airbus family. That is, the origin is from France, European side. And then we have the Boeing family. That is, the origin is from America, US. So Airbus 320, they are normally called as narrow-bodied aircraft. The reason is it's very small in size, a normal aircraft, but very small when comparing to the bigger size, bigger versions of them. So an Airbus A320 aircraft will have a single aisle. A single aisle means there will be two sets of seat on both sides. We'll have 3 plus 3 seats. That is, one row is about 6 seats, and we'll have 3 seats on each side. And it has one aisle. That is that is the place where the crew walks all through the aircraft, the longitudinal length. So that's for the Airbus 320. In 737, it's the same thing. The 737 aircraft is also a single aisle aircraft. So what I'm representing this 737, that is the aircraft model, that is the smaller versions. 737 is a Boeing 737 aircraft normally seen in Air India Express for Indian side, and Airbus 320 is for Air India. So 737 and 320, they both are the most common flights that are flown here. As you know that Indigo Airlines has a maximum number of A320 flights, and the 737 aircraft is normally used by Air India Express, because Air India Express and SpiceJet, I think so. SpiceJet has also a large number of 737 aircraft, but the maximum number of aircrafts that are flown for 737 is for Air India Express. So, what is an airport? An airport is a place where the aircraft come and goes. That is disembarkation of passengers, embarkation of passengers, loading, unloading of bags, cargo, mail, etc. What kind of airport we have? Uh, let's take one of the biggest airport in the world. That's the Dubai airport. The reason I'm taking Dubai airport is you need to know what actually the airport scenario looks like. So there are lots of YouTube videos that you can see about airport. What is an airport? What and all terminals are there in an airport? Everything. So this is a Dubai airport, view of Dubai airport. That is the side view of the Dubai airport. Dubai airport has about 3 terminals and about a capacity of 1,000 aircrafts. It can hold about 1,000 777 aircraft. That is the one of the largest aircraft in the world. 777 aircrafts. Emirates has only 777 aircraft and 380 aircrafts. They are the largest owners of 777 and Airbus 380 aircrafts. So when you're preparing for a flight dispatcher, you will have a type-rated program. That is, must take an individual training for each type rate. For 320, you have to take separately. For 737, you have to take separately. 777, whatever type of aircrafts you come, you need separate license for each of them. Just like a load sheet license, you need individual license for each aircraft and for each airlines also, because all the dispatcher courses The manual process is same, but the uh, flight plan process that will slightly differ based on the zero fuel weight, or maybe based on the rules that each country follows. So the airline wise differences will come normally. This is just a brief because as far as the flight dispatcher team is concerned, it's not about what you need not know what about and why it is an airport. All you need to know is what is an aircraft. So airport is different, and aircraft is the one that is the thing that you must be covered. So aircraft and its turnaround process. So since we are taking only the dispatcher side, I need not go for the passenger sides and their calculation. I'll start off directly how the process starts off. First, you will have a 24-hour before map. For example, you're taking up a
Sir,
flight at 26. Yes.
excuse me.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry to disturb you. Sir, your voice
Fine.
is not very proper to us. Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. So uh, I'll take a detailed brief. So today I'll give you just a brief idea, and tomorrow I'll show you what are the proper procedures that you're going to follow as a flight dispatcher. So today we'll just take a brief session because I need to do a proper presentation because most of you are starting from the basics. So I need to do a proper presentation and a clear idea of what you guys are going to cover. Starting off, for example, let's take we are starting off a, let's say about a 320 aircraft on date is 27th of this month. So a departure may be at 10 o'clock. So what the jobs that a dispatcher do is first he need to know what are the what are the information that he's going to collect. One is the meteorological reports that he get from the weather side, that is from the meteorological department. He'll get the weather report. Then we'll have the ATC report, uh, in how the traffic is there on that particular date and time. Then we'll have estimate zero fuel will be collected from the load control regarding the passenger and cargo weight. Then we'll have a report from the operational side, who will decide which setup team is going to operate our aircraft on that particular date or on that particular time. So these are the four important reports that you get that you need to collect as a flight dispatcher so that you could prepare a flight plan. So once these four details are collected, then we are going to plan how the routing is going to be for an aircraft. That will be first we'll start off like the two sectors. For example, if you are taking a sector from, say, I'll take it from Trivandrum. So Trivandrum to Dubai, an Air India Express flight, IX539 to Dubai, IX539 to Dubai. So when you take that particular aircraft, that aircraft has a capacity of 186 passengers, and we have a plan load for that is full. That is 186 passengers we have. We have about 2 tons or 3 tons of cargo. So these details will be calculated by the load control and sent to the dispatcher for the weight receival. He'll take this weight to calculate the fuel required for that aircraft to reach the destination. Then we will collect the weight report. We'll collect the meteorological report from two stations. That is, one is from Trivandrum, the other is from Dubai. And then we'll select a route map for that flight. That is how the aircraft is going to travel. Is it going to take a ETOPS flight or a non-ETOPS flight? So what is ETOPS and what is non-ETOPS? I'll tell it earlier. I'll tell it later on because ETOPS and non-ETOPS is quite a big topic that is depend upon the type rate program. That is how the that is which aircraft will be utilized for the service. For example, if you're taking 320 aircraft, the ETOPS, that is the extended twin engine operation procedures, says that the aircraft must have the capacity to run to fly about 3 or 4 hours in just single engine. That is called ETOPS, and non-ETOPS means it cannot fly at that much high range. That is 3 or 4 flights, 3 or 4 hours in single engine. It can be a 2 hour or maybe a three 1.5 hours. So it's ETOPS 90 or ETOPS 120 or ETOPS 240. Based on that, the aircraft will be decided. And if it's a non-ETOPS or maybe a ETOPS flight, the crew that has been selected for that flight should also be registered with ETOPS. That is, they must be ETOPS trained. If they are not ETOPS trained, the flight dispatcher must change the flight plan and re-release it with a new flight plan stating that it's non-ETOPS. So there are certain things that you need to follow based on the type rating also. So that we'll go in step on. Just giving you a rough idea right now. We'll have okay, then we'll have this collecting. We'll collect the details from meteorological department. That is how the weather is, the cloud formation, chances of rain, the temperature. These all reflect on the aircraft performance also. So if the temperature is very high, there is very less chance that the zero fuel that is given, if for example it's a full zero fuel weight of 60 to 700, and the temperature is very high, that is temperature sitting more than 38 to 40 degrees centigrade, you can't accept a flight plan with 60 to 700. You need to reduce it to some say 62 tons or maybe 61 500. So that will be calculation. That calculation will be done only once you receive all these four reports. After that, after collecting the meteorological department report and the load control report, you will have to move on to the ATC report. So ATC will give you a time and schedule at which the aircraft can come in and go out. If, for example, if you're taking a flight from Trivandrum to Dubai and the origin station of the aircraft is in Trivandrum and the aircraft is coming from a hangar, the ATC will decide what type of schedule is being given to that. That is there space for that? Space for that particular aircraft to come in and go out. If normally the airlines schedule it prior, maybe say about 2 months or 3 months prior, but since it's an origin station, the changes can be done at the last minute. So based on that, if the aircraft is coming in at say about 9 o'clock and it's departing correctly at 10:30 or 10 o'clock, the ATC report will be sent to you regarding that. Yes, the aircraft is scheduled for departure from Trivandrum at 10 o'clock hours. So this 10 hours, 10 o'clock, the time will be always given in UTC. The most important part of dispatch is no time will be given on the local time. You will be taking only the UTC hours. So you need to know that whenever you talk to the captain regarding the flight plans or what time it is, always communicate in UTC hours, because the captain will not look at the local time, because that's not necessary. All aircrafts are equipped with UTC hours, so you need to contact or talk to him by radio or any medium. The UTC hours must be communicated. Next, once this ATC confirmation is received, the meteorological confirmation is received, the located confirmation is received, the fourth one will be how you will be checking what is the condition that is from the operational unit, which captains or what crew will be operating the aircraft. So out of these four, once you get the operational crew, the last report that's come to you is from the maintenance side. The maintenance report will be regarding the aircraft or maybe type rating. So type rating, that is for 737 aircraft, it offers 75 minutes or 90 minutes or maybe 120 minutes. So if the aircraft is completely serviced, it's definitely going to be around 90 minutes. Or if the age of the aircraft is high, the ETOPS time will also reduce. If you say about 6 or 7 year old aircraft can take an ETOPS of 120 minutes, if you take that aircraft to say about 15 or 16 years, the ETOPS will be reduced to ETOPS 90 minutes. So that's the completely technical side. That is for the aeronautical engineering side, we'll be covering up that. So the ETOPS 90 or ETOPS 120, if it is an ETOPS flight, and if the flight plan created by us based on all these informations also in ETOPS, the operational crew must be cross-check whether they are ETOPS, whether they have ETOPS registration. That is, the captain must be ETOPS trained. So if the captain and first officer are bit of strained, yes, the same crew comes in for the aircraft for operation. No, you need to inform the operational control and make sure that the crew be changed so that the operation would be safe. Or if no crew is available, the aircraft has to be operated in this. We will contact the maintenance team regarding availability of any other aircraft. If no other aircraft is available and that's the only aircraft available for our operation, then it comes to the flight dispatcher set. Here we will change the operations. We will change the flight plan from ETOPS to non-ETOPS. So the burning of fuel will be higher. So that calculation we will see later on. So these are the main points that you will check when you are going for a when you start a dispatching course. Here we will check how the meteorological reports are being collected. We'll be learning about our three-letter codes, that is IATA three-letter codes. We'll be learning the ICAO four-letter codes. We need to know the UTC time calculation, how the UTC time is being calculated, how the flight plan is being created, how the aeronautical chart is being used, and we'll be moving through how the planning is being done. So all these things will be covered uh, further on. That's the basic flight dispatcher that you're going to cover. I'll take a few complete detailed one tomorrow. Uh, so next we'll follow up a few approvals that is from the DGSA. What are the DGSA's requirement for a flight dispatcher course? The first is a flight dispatcher course will be type rated. That is, it's a type rating of an aircraft. An aircraft, for example, if you take a load control, the load sheet license will be issued only for one particular type of aircraft. For example, if it's an Airbus 320, he'll have a license to do only an Airbus 320 flight. So the same way for flight dispatches, you also have a type rated certificate, which says that you can do dispatching for a 320 aircraft or maybe a 777 aircraft. So that's a must. Next, educational qualifications, that is 10th or plus two. It should be in physics and maths from a recognized board or university, or you can have a bachelor's degree. Age is should not be less than 21. Then, what are the knowledge that you need to acquire when you're studying for dispatch? The first one is the air law, that is rules and regulations relevant to the holder of a flight dispatcher approval. Appropriate air traffic services, practices, and procedures. So you need to know the updates of what are the air law. For example, in the current situation, you can say that a notice is issued on Afghanistan saying that flying above or crossing Afghanistan is completely avoided or it's restricted that there should be no aircraft flowing above Afghanistan. So those are the few notams that have been issued lately. So the air law updations, what are the rules and regulations of each country or about each country the aircraft flows, all these things should be noted. Next, aircraft general knowledge. You need to know how the airplane engines are operated, how the systems and instruments are working, the operating limitations of the aircraft. You need to know what is a minimum equipment list, that is the flight performance calculation, planning procedures, and how the loading is being taken place. Then you'll have effects of loading and mass distribution. That is, we'll be taking a small session about load sheet also, that how we are going to calculate how the distribution is affecting the aircraft. So these things should be also taken in the subject. Then operational flight planning. So this is the place where your job comes in. That is how you will plan the route, the fuel consumption, the endurance calculation, in case of emergency, the alternate aerodrome selection, the en route cruise control, that is en route where and on, what and on height, what altitude the aircraft will fly, what speed the aircraft will fly. So these things all will be calculated. Extended range operation, in case if you are flying above oceans or seas when you're crossing ocean, you need to initiate the extended range operation. That's what I said, that a flight plan will be ETOPS or non-ETOPS. Next, we'll have preparation and filing of air traffic service flight plans. That is, in every flight plan, you need to prepare a ATC flight plan that is normally handed over to the air traffic team to know that how which route the aircraft will fly. So once this dispatcher designs this, creates the flight plan, this ATC plan should be sent to the uh, ATC team so that they can update in their system and view that during the path of the flight where there is whether there is any interference from any other flight traveling that same path. So all these things will be calculated by the ATC, and if the ATC, if the flight plan given by the dispatcher to the ATC is not satisfactory, the ATC will request for another flight plan, maybe due to no times or any other reasons. Next, the basic principles of computer assisted planning system. That is the system wise plannings will be also taken. So that must be also known to us. Human performance relevant to dispatch duties, including principles of threat and error management. So in case of any emergency, what are the things that dispatch from the dispatch point of view will be handled? Next, we'll have the meteorology, that is the aeronautical meteorology, the movement of pressure systems, the structure of fronts, and the origin and characteristics of significant weather phenomena which affect takeoff, en route, and landing conditions. As I said earlier, the weather report. The weather report from the meteorology department is also taken, must be taken part of the flight plan planning. Interpretation and application of aeronautical meteorological reports, charts, and forecasts, codes and abbreviation, use of, and procedures for obtaining meteorological information. So when you are handling a meteorological report, you need to know the four-letter code of a station. If you're giving an alternate location for the aircraft to move, all will be given in the ICAO abbreviations. That is, for example, if you're taking uh, anything in India, or maybe or you're going for Dubai, every city has a four-letter code. That if they have an ATC tower, or if they have a small strip or runway, all will be taken with a four-letter code, which will be shown in the flight plan. Has anyone seen a flight plan before?
No,
Hello?
sir.
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I'll show you. I think I have one flight plan with me. I'll show you tomorrow. So a flight plan will have all the destinations. That is the en route where the aircraft will go for a landing, an alternate landing, the destination, all the countries that the aircraft will pass, the airway, which path the aircraft is taking, which direction the aircraft is flying. All these details will be given in the flight plan. So that's the plan that we, on basis of the five reports, will be designing and planning. So that's meteorology. Then we have the navigation. Navigation is a particular reference to instrument flight operation procedures. That is, whether it's an IFOR flight plan or VFR flight plan. That is, whether it's instrument flight rules or the visual flight rules. Instrument is based on the aircraft instruments. The aircraft will be taking off and landing. That is, maybe if the temperature or the weather is very bad, the pilots will uh, give more concentration on the instrument rather visually seeing, because they'll trust the uh, visual instruments. Instrumental flight rules. In case if you can see, the runway, or if it's visually been okay, the visual flight rules will apply. So that depends upon which runway the aircraft is being landing. Nowadays, most of all the runways are being installed with IFR. So all the aircraft, all the flight plans comes in instrument flight rules standards, not an issue. So if the weather is very bad, it comes for visual flight rules. Next, use of aeronautical documentations. That is the aeronautical chart, the meteorological chart. So all these documentations must be well known to you. Operational procedure for the carriage of freight and dangerous goods. So in case if the aircraft is carrying any dangerous goods, that will cover. That's a portion in the load control. We'll be covering that portion also. So whether any cargo or dangerous goods are being uplifted, is there any ERP, that is emergency response procedure code? In case of any emergency, uh, the captains must be able to handle the situation. So for that, the load control will provide them with an ERG code, that they'll have a book called emergency response procedure, and that has a particular code. So if you give, for example, a DG code, say it's a 9, it's a miscellaneous dangerous good. If it's a miscellaneous dangerous good, the code that comes will start with the number 9, 9 Lima, 9L, or 9M. So when these codes are given, the captain will understand that this is the sector they have to take. So they'll take the ERG in ninth chapter, section L. What is the solution for that situation? That will be read and that will be applied. So in certain stages, if the captain cannot handle it, then the aircraft goes over the landing procedure. So that comes for the flight and dangerous goods. Next, procedures relating to aircraft accidents and incidents, emergency flight procedures. In case the aircraft has any technical issue, the dispatch team along with ATC will collaborate and give support to the operating, that is, the flying aircraft. So maximum, the main important job is of the ATC, but the dispatcher should also be involved with that, because the flight plans must be changed and it should be informed to the captains. So all these procedures should be followed. Next, unlawful interference and sabotage of aircraft. That is the safety. That's the security side. Security side should be also monitored. Security side should also be monitored in this manner. So we'll be covering up that also. We'll have the security uh, briefing. We'll have the safety briefing. So all these things will be covered in your course. That is part of your course. Then principles of flight. So principle of flight relating appropriate category of aircraft. That is, if it's a heavier than air aircraft, normally all aircrafts are heavier than air. So it's the type limit, whether it's a narrow body aircraft or it's a conventional aircraft. So narrow body is a little bit smaller type, and the conventional is the big one, the 777, the aircraft used by Emirates, or the 747, Air India's largest. Air India holds the 747 aircraft. So these type of aircraft, what are the principles used? All aircraft use the same principle, but the category, that is the type rating, will be mentioned in those principles. Next, we'll have the radio communication. What are the procedures for communicating with the aircraft and relevant ground stations? How the aircraft communicate with the ATCs, how the ground communicate with the aircraft, or ground communicate with the ATCs. So these radio conversations and communications will be has a particular procedure which will be followed. Experience, experience is not big. Once you have completed your course in flight dispatch, you will be allowed to flight dispatcher close at least 90 working days with 6 months immediately proceeding the applications. So once you have completed your dispatch course, you have to be in on-job training for about 3 weeks or so, and then you will have a single trial session, say about 2 days. So once you complete this process and you write an exam of DGCA, you will be given with the DGCA flight dispatcher course license. But once you receive the flight dispatcher license, you need to still undergo another training. If you're going for any airlines, you still need to go another training where they'll give you a brief about how their policies, or how the airline policies work there. So after that training, you will be given the flight dispatcher job. So, guys, do you have any questions regarding flight dispatching? Because I haven't started any topics yet. Do you need to know more about flight dispatcher? What are the things that you're going to cover?
Yes, sir.
So, you guys have any questions that you need to ask regarding flight dispatcher? I haven't covered any subjects yet. I'll be starting that tomorrow. No questions.
No, sir.
Okay.
So there is a noise.
Yes.
There is a noise.
There's noise in the background.
Yes, sir. You are not audible.
Is it okay now?
I
Yes,
think
sir.
it is from the earphone.
Voice okay now?
Yes, yes. Okay.
So, is there any questions that you need to ask regarding what's a flight dispatcher course and all? Because I'll be taking the complete sessions. I'll be starting up the session in my next class.
In flight dispatcher, there is 4 subjects.
Flight dispatcher, actually, there is not mainly 4 subjects. It's the phase that you have to complete. That is, one will be a theoretical side. The other you'll be going for the practical one. So theoretical, you'll have about 10 to 15 subjects that you need to cover, starting from meteorological, air navigation, load sheet, mass and balance, uh, the operational side, planning side, the routing, fuel calculations, distance calculations. So there are lots of things that covers in the phase one. Then we'll have the phase two where you'll be practically doing that. That is, you'll be drawing the aircraft flight, I mean, the flight route, the route mapping, all those things will come.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So, any other questions?
No, sir.
No. Okay then. Okay then, guys.
So,
See you for the next. Yes.
is there is any compulsory practical sessions for DGC exam?
Compulsory practical questions. I didn't get you.
So actually, I saw in a DGC exam schedule, they're
Yeah.
they're asking to cover our practical session in a 120 hours, something like. I forget that hour.
Yeah, see, that is the 120 hours that comes under the OJT. So you will have a theoretical exam, and after that you will
Yeah.
be going for the practical side. So once you clear up the theoretical side, you will have another 2 set of papers where you will be doing an OJT for about 120 hours. That is,
Yeah,
you will
yeah,
be
okay.
doing dispatcher job from any of the airlines or maybe from the ground company. You will do the dispatching job, and there you will be issued a certificate which you will be giving to the DGCA.
Okay, okay.
And once you hand over those certificates, they will issue you the dispatcher license. This is for say about for AME, the same process goes on.
I'm gonna
You will be
fly
covering all the
one
papers
day.
theoretically,
I'm
and the
gonna
remaining
fly
4 paper
one
will be
day. I'm
around
gonna
4 paper
spread
will be
my
completely
wings
practical. You need about 2 years experience in OGT before you request or apply for the license to DGCA. So flight dispatcher is also the same way. You need to do OJT. I think DGCA is giving permission for that also.